Hey, everybody, welcome to Hey Mando, everyone's favorite podcast about The Mandalorian featuring Ryan Ray and Kyle Souza. I'm the Souza one of that pair. Ryan, how you doing tonight?
Kyle, it's been a week, man. So it's good to talk about something a little bit less stressful.
It has been a week, and we will get to talk about something pretty good. Uh, this is going out live right now on a couple different platforms. I think the main one is Periscope, though.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be available for replay on the Outpost 23 YouTube channel. You can also check out outpost23.net for more content from Ryan. You can also check out thetalkinggeek.com for more content from me, or listen to the audio only version of this podcast on the Hey Mando podcast, available on iTunes, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, other such places. For those listening, you will have to hear how awesome my shirt is. I usually don't brag that much, but I do have a Mandalorian shirt. How do you like that, Ryan?
It's lovely. It's lovely.
It even says the child on it. Now, my daughter asked me what the language was, the second language, because it has it in English, right? The Mandalorian and the child. And then below it, it has script, and it's not Arabesh, okay? It's Mandoa, except there's a big problem. They got the H's wrong. Unless this is a different Mandoa script than what I'm been exposed to.
No, it's the southeastern dialect. I can recognize that.
There you go.
You're in Northwest. You're at the southeastern dialect. So
yeah, so that's just one thing, because H is a very common letter on this shirt because it says the Mandalorian, the child, and that's when I realized when looking at the child that it was wrong, and not just because it was upside down while I looked at it, but it's actually written poorly. Well, I'm sure the audio only listeners enjoyed that segment.
Yes, that's just for good.
Well, so
we'll have a segment each week, visuals that we describe via our wonderful voices and big vocabularies.
Yes. So we are talking about Chapter 2 of The Mandalorian, titled The Child. So I felt like the shirt was appropriate.
Very appropriate.
Yeah. Let's cut right to the chase. Overall, how'd you like this episode?
When The Mandalorian first came out, I missed the first week, I think. And by the time I started watching, the second episode was out, maybe the third episode. I can't remember. I fell asleep during this episode.
Okay.
I did not fall asleep this time.
Okay. Well, that's good that you watched it earlier in the day. That's good.
I literally just finished it before we got on because I forgot.
Okay.
I didn't say forget to watch it. I chose not to watch it last night. And I forgot to watch it this week. So I watched it before it came on. So it's fresh in my head. I did not fall asleep. But these are the episodes that to me, they don't add a whole lot. And, if you'd like it, okay, you could have gone without the episode. And so I think I'm curious your take on it, Kyle, because I know people that absolutely love The Mandalorian, like every episode. And I think there's a contingency of the Star Wars fandom that's kind of in my crowd, which is some of them is hit or miss. And for me, the problem with these episodes are, again, you can take them or leave them. Like, there's no reason to necessarily come back and watch the episode, except for there's one or two things in there. And then the one or two things that are in there, the stuff that surrounds it doesn't really build to anything else, and it's almost kind of a letdown when the main point of this episode, the mission at least, when it pays off, the payoff isn't even really there. So I don't know if we're saying like a 1 to 10, it's a 5, it's a 6 episode. I wouldn't. There's probably some Easter eggs and spoilers or some things in there I got questions about, but I think you could watch the entire show and probably 2 seasons and miss this episode and you didn't miss anything. That's what I would say.
For the most part, I agree with you. I would put it at about probably a 6 on the scale, maybe a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. I do think that there are a couple key things that they put into this episode to make it necessary watching. And so that's both of us giving our review. We appreciate everybody listening in. No, just joking. But from this point forward, do want to say spoiler alert. And also, not just spoilers for this episode, everything. We have already watched season 2. We are now watching episode 2 of season 1. So we will say things like Grogu. And if you haven't seen season 2, you'll be able to figure out what we're talking about and that's why it's a spoiler. That's how definitions work.
He's a Wookiee that comes on later on. It's a whole thing. He bites. And so yes. So not only for season 1, season 2, not in season 3, not in season 3 yet. But this would be Star Wars 1 through none. This would be Clone Wars, Rebels, some comics, some books. What are the offshoot movies?
The anthology films? Or are you talking about like Wilford Brimley Star Wars?
So this would be like Han Solo and what's the other one?
Rogue One.
So anything Star Wars or MCU, Harry Potter, anything in the world, you are now in territory.
Yes, it could be a spoiler. And for everybody who did not catch that Wilford Brimley reference, that would be Caravan of Courage. Google it. Okay. So my first impression on this episode though was, hey, those are some cute lizards. That was the first thing I thought. By the end of the episode, I thought he should have fed one of those to Baby Yoda.
Can we just say Frog Eggs season 2? We're in spoilers now. He's got a thing for frogs. They laid it out. They said,
I don't want to show too much here, but let me see if I can get a leg up here. I've got some Mandalorian socks because that's how I do things, and they have frogs on them. That's it's Yoda and the frogs.
Okay,
you know, I came dressed for this podcast because that's what you do, right?
Obviously,
for audio mediums, you dress appropriately.
People here to see your socks, of course. But I mean, I just found it ironic knowing that he eats the frog legs in season 2, episode 2, I think, actually, right?
Frog Lady, I don't think it's episode 2. I think she's later than that. I think maybe episode 4.
My phone's updating. I'll look it up. But I just found it odd. I never made the connection. Probably got fell asleep the first time. And he eats this big, huge frog. Like I didn't know how I got the sucker down. Like it was a big old frog. And then frog. And then in season 2, he's eating frog eggs. So he's got an affinity for the delicacy. Yeah, The Passenger is episode 2.
Oh, it is. Okay. My bad. I thought it was later. I thought it was a little bit later. My mistake.
The 3rd is when they go see Bo-Katan.
Oh, okay. Good deal.
So will season 2 prediction, Kyle? Chat season 3, episode 2. Will Grogu eat another frog? So he went from full-grown frog to frog lady egg. Will he eat like a whole frog person?
Or will he go for the middle and do tadpole?
Tadpole. I'm going tadpole.
Yeah, tadpole. Some tadpole. Though I think we're going to see some other reptilian eating this season.
So
I got a feeling about it. Having watched it twice, I got a feeling about it.
That he had eaten that big old frog. It's going to caught me off guard knowing that he eats the frog egg later on. It's like, okay, that's just his deal. He likes frog legs. Sorry.
So here's one thought that I had on that. Yoda, same species as Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
He retires to Dagobah. That's what we'll call it. We'll call it his forced retirement. And Dagobah is full of amphibians and reptiles. So Yoda just retired to like a smorgasbord planet. Like, even if he's this decrepit old man.
Species.
Yeah. He's got everything at his fingertips, literally, that he wants to eat.
Agreed. Concur. I concur.
That makes more. Go.
They're filling in the plot without even telling us.
That's right. That's in the EU, there was a story that Yoda had picked Dagobah because of a dark Jedi that had lived there and died there. And so he was looking to cancel out his presence by having, light side and dark side meet together, and it would appear neutral if the Empire or somebody's Force sensitive started looking for him. But no, he just wanted easy access to the frogs.
And he wanted the frogs. No doubt about it.
Let's see. I also, we talked about this last episode, but the beat up armor, because we know he gets some shiny new threads. Mm-hmm. Can you call it threads when it's made out of steel?
Close enough, yeah.
But he's got this beat up old armor, and it causes him some problems this episode, but it looks cool, right? Can we agree that with the color scheme, it looks cool?
It does look cool. My question was, so the one horn rhino beats him up.
The Mudhorn, yes.
Yeah, okay. Let's be okay. The one horn rhino. Sorry for the uneducated.
Okay, the woolly rhino,
The
yes.
woolly rhino with the woolly egg. Um, like,
Yes. I feel so bad for that Mudhorn. I do. That's the victim of this episode. Sorry, please continue.
um, dents up his armor. So was his armor not Beskar?
So that is one thing that has yet to be made fully canon, as far as I understand, but it is generally believed that due to the lack of access to Beskar,
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorians or new Mandalorians would have used a Beskar less or a Beskar alloy in their armor. They would have wanted just maybe a little bit of Beskar. So, like, maybe their signet would be made out of Beskar, or they would just take some Beskar and mix it in with the rest of the regular steel, or they may just fashion non Beskar armor into Mandalorian armor for appearance's sake because they could not get access to the Beskar. And since he was a foundling, unlike Bo Katan or Sabine Wren, who has had their armor passed down to them over generations and is made out of pure Beskar, his probably would have been a newer set.
So the follow-up for me then is going to Boba Fett. Is Boba Fett actually Beskar? Because Boba Fett looks a lot more until he goes to Sherman-Williams. Looks a lot more like the Mandalorians in these first 2 episodes than it does the Mandalorian season 2. So is Boba Fett Beskar light or is he full Beskar?
That's something that we don't know, but I believe it's Beskar light, and that helps clear up a supposed plot hole: the dent in his helmet.
Well,
A
yeah.
lot of people say, "Oh, how did he get a dent in his helmet if this Beskar is so indestructible?" Well, because I think you nailed it right there. Beskar light.
Beskar light. Okay.
Yeah,
We should get some shirts made up like Beskar light.
Beskar light. That's
Like
right.
Well, work on that. We'll write that down. Beskar light. Okay. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get on that. That is you're the resident like knows everything about Star Wars. I'm just the buffoon trying to understand what ABY or BBY we're in. So
No, not at all. Not at all. But I appreciate the praise.
it's the fact. So, anyways, I'm sorry. Continue.
It's all good. So Mando does get hurt in that altercation with some other bounty hunters looking for him. Of course, I didn't pick up on the beeping the first time. I was like, oh, are these? I know they weren't Nikto, but are these some other people there to protect the child? And they're kind of the outside guard. They saw that Mando stole him, and now they want to steal him back. But then they make it very evident, no, they're just a group of bounty hunters. Okay. So he does get hurt during that encounter, and the child is trying to help him, trying to touch him. And we know later that is because he wants to help heal him. So we get some foreshadowing there. I like the foreshadowing.
The force shadowing?
Yes. Yes. The
foreshadowing. I'm on a roll. So, okay. Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts on this. So you have him stick out his little green hand and he's trying to pull a ray. We know because season 2, looking back now, that he's had some training. So he's been to the Jedi Temple. He's had some training. He doesn't probably remember a lot of it, but he does some. Is this instinctual? So is he just feeling the Force? Is he feeling what's going on? And he's like, this guy needs help. I'm going to stick my hand out and see what I can do here. Or is this some training that he'd gotten from Windu or Yoda or someone else and he kind of remembers and he's tapping into it? What's your read on what he's doing there? He knows what he's supposed to do. He's trying to do it, but why do you think he knows that?
Yeah, I think that it is instinct, that it may have been augmented by something that he'd seen. Like my kids might see me do something on my skateboard, and they will try to mimic me, and they can't do it right because they don't know how to do it, but they know that it can be done, right? And so I think Grogu is feeling, this guy is hurt. I've got a good feeling about him, and I want to help him. I know that this can happen. I'm gonna try healing him. And Grogu may have even healed himself. We do see again in season 2 that there was a dark time where some bad things happened to him. He may have been hurt multiple times and left bloodied, and he may have had to heal himself with the Force. For all those listening in, I have waved a hand over my arm as if I was healing myself with the Force, and you will notice I am not bleeding from this arm. I wasn't earlier either, but it's good to note that I'm not now.
They didn't know that though.
Right. It didn't cause any further problems.
You didn't start bleeding.
That's right.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm a witness. You
That's
did not.
right.
Right?
So,
I mean,
we've got.
this is
I'm sorry.
factual.
It is
This is factual. You did start
all
bleeding.
the facts. And so we've got the healing there, the foreshadowing there. I like that foreshadowing. It's not even hard for me to say because I mumble.
That makes sense. So let me just take down my good shirt notes here. We've got Beskar Light, and then we've got foreshadowing. Someone's used foreshadowing before, but whatever. Right? I mean, it's Star Wars. It's all about ripping off.
That is one thing Star Wars has been consistent about from the beginning.
One of the things that also, so there, despite my, like, you can skip over it, there are some things, as you said, that you can pick up, you can think about. They're just not, there's like a few focus things, and the healing was one of them. How powerful is, so we see in episode 9, Rey just like, bam, like out of the blue, here she goes. She's force lightning and all kinds of stuff. What's your read on, so you have Jedi training or Sith training where you're trying to learn how to use your powers, but if you're not really trained, but you can do stuff, are you almost more powerful because you don't know where the brakes are at? So is Grogu on some level, because he lifts up the Rhino at the end? Is he just more powerful? Not than Luke Skywalker, obviously, because he'd be kind of a raw, unskilled. But is it just almost, it's easier for him to tap into things that maybe other Jedi might struggle with because he just lifted his hands and doing stuff?
Yes. My oldest daughter's now 9, but when she was 5, she was better at doing backflips than she is now because she didn't know that she couldn't do a backflip the first time that she tried it. She did a front flip on trampoline, and then my dad was like, "Try a backflip," and before I could say no, she tried it, and she didn't land it. But now she won't even like try it unless it's under the right circumstances. So I do think that there is a whole lot of fear that comes along with knowledge. And by not having that training and not knowing his limits, Grogu does have some advantages over someone else who might be trained.
So we're definitively saying, I'm about to pull a lever here. It might be the wrong one. We're definitively saying here that Grogu is more powerful than Luke Skywalker. Okay.
I'm saying that he's less cautious. He's less aware of his limits than Luke Skywalker is. I'm not saying he's not, but I think that he is more limited at this point than Luke Skywalker is.
Yeah. Luke's prediction, season 3, Luke brings back Grogu and he's like, dude, I can't do anything with him. He's whipping me all over the place. Like, he's just too powerful.
All right, baby, are we going to see Grogu doing Yoda-style lightsaber tactics? Because that's one thing we got in episode 1, right? Was them saying that Yoda was kind of the one to beat when it came to lightsaber training. And then we got to see it in episode 2, and it was like, what? Right. So are we going to see some of that maybe in season 4 of The Mandalorian? Maybe.
Season 4?
Season 4, yeah. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Grogu in season 3. Yeah.
I think that'd be a mistake, but okay.
Oh, yeah. No, but like we were saying earlier about something else, people have the right to make mistakes. So
wow.
I think they're going to make one.
I know I didn't wear a Star Wars shirt, but you don't have to call me out. You don't have to call me out publicly, okay? It was a mistake. Okay, it's a mistake. You wore my Star Wars shirt, but
no, not you. Just I think that they're.
And here you are. Okay, I'm sorry. So the audio listeners don't even know. That's the thing. That's the worst part about it. Now you've told them.
That we were talking about. I'm just referencing something between you and me that happened earlier. Nobody knew anything.
I like the Star Wars shirt. You wore your Mandalorian. I didn't. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I made a mistake. Thank you for allowing me to do that. It's big of you.
It's not. Okay. I can't lose for winning, I guess. No. Let's see. We'll switch back to the podcast, to the episode that everybody tuned into the podcast for. So Din parked his ship on the wrong side of town. He made it. Even the first time I saw this episode, when he just left his ship in the middle of a canyon and walked away, I was like, why? Why do this? Why do this thing? And it turned out that was a bad idea
Well,
because Jawas exist.
well, Star Wars is infamous for like parking 6 miles too far away. Like if
Hmm.
you remember in Rogue One when the bad guy like he lands at Jin's house, he
Yeah,
parks.
Krennic.
Yeah, critic. Thank you. He parks like 6 miles away. They walked like 6 cornfields to get to the house. Like, you could have pulled this baby up a little bit closer and parked it. So Star Wars is infamous for like you can fly, you can hover, you can probably land really close. Oh, we're gonna park on the low side. Like I guess they're trying to get their steps in.
Try and get their steps in, and maybe they are like, well, maybe they're not at the house. So if they're not at the house, we want to park away from the house so that we can catch them as they run. Of course, if they run the other direction from where you park, now you've got to go twice as far on foot.
Yeah, yeah. Star Wars parking. There's something there that we don't know. Zoning laws. I don't know. No fly
So
zone.
maybe it's radiation from takeoff, but then again, people are in the spaceport and they seem to be just fine. Well, I say they seem to be just fine. I'm not sure what that species is supposed to look like. Maybe it's been mutated.
Wow. Wow, that's aggressive.
Uh,
That's
well,
that's aggressive.
that's the kind of guy I am.
People make
People, when they look at me, they go, "Oh, that's an aggressive nerd."
It's geek, but whatever.
He's yes. So he's got the Jawas, which proves what my grandma always told me: don't park your spaceship in the middle of a desert. Jawas are going to get it. That's what she told me my whole life growing up.
Yeah, obviously.
Just joking, just joking. But thanks, Ma'am, all for tuning in. So, uh, my thought was like, why didn't he move it over to the Ugnaughts' place when he met the Ugnaught? Like
I,
that would have been easier.
well, okay, so let's go through this real quick. He lands on the planet. He gets kicked by the small thing, the first one, and gets knocked out, and the Ugnaught saves him.
The Blurg, yes.
Yeah, your knowledge is impressive. The Blurg knocks him out. Does he ever go back to the ship between the Blurg and episode when he sees the ship again?
I don't think so.
Right. So he leaves and goes to get baby Yoda, and then comes back, and so he just never goes back to the ship.
Right, but I'm saying he gets attacked by the Blurg very close to the ship, I believe.
I have to go back and watch now. I don't know.
I just think he's pretty close to the ship. He's I think he's relatively close to the ship when he gets attacked by the Blurg. He should have gone back, got the ship, and moved it close to the Ugnaughts' house or something. He's far too trusting, especially for a Mandalorian. Why would he? Or maybe he's just like, people are going to know this is a Mandalorian ship and they won't screw with it.
Well, it's an old Razor Crest model. Those are around everywhere. Maybe he thinks the kids aren't into him anymore.
Maybe, but Jawas definitely are.
Jawas into everything.
They are. They are. Now, one thing. Now, I understand Jawas to be native to Tatooine. Actually, one of the native sentient species. Though I could be mistaken about that. But this shows us that they have moved off planet as well. That they've moved around, which is interesting because it's going to be hard to get a sand crawler onto a ship. That's not an Imperial Star Destroyer.
Yeah. So yeah. So I just saw it differently. I saw that the Ugnaught took him. He went to their house. The Ugnaught's kind of like, I've spoken. Let's go. No reason to move the ship. Of course, you get it. Yeah. Anyway, so Star Wars parking is a bad thing. We can disagree there. I think that's a reoccurring theme through all of Star Wars.
But we did get a fun action sequence with him trying to climb up the sand crawler, and then he gets shot by the ion blasters and falls down, which is one of the downsides of wearing electricity conducting full body armor, would be if you get shot by ion blasters. But that's why I didn't kill them, because they were ion blasters. They're meant to disable machinery, especially droids, so they could be captured.
You know more about Star Wars than I will ever know. Just saying.
So I did think that the child's pod kept up really well in that chase scene. Like it was just zooming around behind him.
Howard, I don't understand that.
I don't know. It's a floating, but I have a child due on May the 4th. Actually, is the due date. And I would love one of those Yoda style or Grogu style bassinets for him, but only if it really floats. That'd be great.
You're just saying for the listeners out there.
Just saying.
Don't
If
send me
anybody
the
knows where to find one, send me
Yeah.
a link.
Yeah, well, no, send it to you. Like,
Or sure, send me free stuff. That never happens.
yeah, but only if it floats. If you find like a cool replica, no, it's got to float. It's got to be powered, not in the float. It's got to be able to go, what, 20, 30 miles an hour too.
Yeah, it's got to move pretty quick.
Be quick. So yeah, I don't know how to think about that too. You like, why couldn't Grogu just bust out of where he was at? You know, like everyone's asleep and then he just hits the accelerator and out the door.
Right. We do have to wonder what so there had to be a control for it, which now Mando has the control on his wrist, right? For this machine that the child is in. How did he get control of that? Is it some sort of universal programming, or did he just download the app and now he can control the Graco Grogu carrier?
Better hope the Empire doesn't ban it. Too soon,
right?
Too soon. Amazon and full servers.
That's right. That's right. It's all good. So we do. This I thought was fun. I looked. It was about 11 minutes into the episode before anybody said a word that we could understand. Also, I have realized a mistake with my camera. Hold on.
Yes, your camera is sinking. I will talk for a second. Just ramble on. Your camera was going down like the Titanic. It was
it was going down like everybody's interest in what I was saying. It was a visual representation of how well I was doing. I should have caught on sooner.
You're the comedic relief of the show and the brains. I'm just here to say something to make you look smart, which is not hard.
I'm definitely not the good looks of the show.
Well, I'm not either, so we're 0 for 2 there. So you mentioned the speaking with the Jawas. I did get a chuckle out of you sound like you're talking Wookiee. Like I feel like that's more of a hat tip to the audience. Like, okay, here are all these crazy languages. It's kind of hard to distinguish them. I thought that was a hat tip to the audience in a well-placed one.
Yes, but he picks up on the language pretty well. Like, I couldn't speak any Jawa like that after just one conversation.
Well, could he not speak any, or is it like when I go to Mexico, I can't speak any, but if I start talking, I can kind of, because I've taken Spanish, I've been to Central American countries a few times. I can't go and have this conversation, but the very basics I could pick up on.
Yeah, I could order food and go to the bathroom. I could figure that out in Mexico.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the case. Maybe he is more familiar with Jawas, which I think we actually saw some Jawas on Navarro also, now that I think about it, in episode 1. So they get around.
What's this is part of Star Wars I don't understand. You have, originally the Star Wars was in English, and then they have the new language, whatever it's called, Standard or whatever it is.
Yeah. Right. Well, you have let's see, Galactic Standard and the Galactic Standard alphabet in Arabish.
Okay, but not everyone speaks Galactic Standard, which is this English.
Right.
So it wasn't really a standard then, was it?
Well, it's what all the main galactic business and governing was done in.
Oh,
because it comes out of Corellia, where humans came from, and they become the dominant race.
Yeah, we're on an outer rim planet, so that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. If you were on Chandrila, now you will get other species speaking their own language because they may not be able to replicate the sounds of Basic, but they can still write in it. And as we saw in The Phantom Menace, going back to that episode 1, we see where they have translators to translate everything to Galactic Standard, both for the benefit of the audience watching the movie and for getting things done in a common language. Okay. Which we run into that a lot in our real world, right?
Star Wars world is much cooler, just saying.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So I thought it was pretty cool. Now that 11 minutes did include like the intro, and there was words in the intro and everything. But the point is, we made it pretty far into the episode without any real dialogue, which I thought was pretty cool. That we were able to follow what happened, and we could tell the Jawas are ticked off and stuff. But I thought that was fun. So let's see. When they go back to the Jawas, when the Ugnaught takes the Mandalorian back to the Jawas. And he says, well, they're mad at you about something. And he's like, I disintegrated a few of them. What did Vader tell Boba Fett on the Bridge of the Executor when they were talking about hunting down Luke Skywalker?
I just watched this the other day. I don't remember, though. What do you think?
No disintegrations. So Mandalorians have a thing for disintegrating people. So I just thought that was fun. I just thought that was fun callback. We see the only other. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. I didn't. Now that you say that, I knew you said something too. I couldn't remember what it was, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we got. It's just a callback to Boba Fett. Maybe Boba Fett will show up. Listen to our past episodes to find out if that happens in the future. So one of the things you miss if you miss this episode is the line, "Weapons are part of my religion."
Yes.
Okay, this is just a great line. This is right up there with the Punisher. God's going to sit this one out. Stuff like that, which not a great idea. Terrible theology, but also this one, not necessarily great theology, but a fantastic piece of dialogue.
It reminded me of Full Metal Jacket.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, so I've never.
I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Yes, well, it's a common theme on this podcast.
I know you're used to it by now, but I still feel the need to apologize.
I appreciate you. Please continue. It's a Vietnam War movie. I've never watched the full movie. The first half of the movie is literally the drill sergeant just like torturing them over and over and over again, and ultimately one of the students murders him. We've warned you, spoilers, everything. So yeah, I've already warned you. You won't watch the movie, Kyle, because it's not your type of movie.
Yeah.
But it's very much it's a Marine Corps training, and like the rifle is like their number one thing, like over and over and over and over, like and so anyways, I just kind of remind me of that scenery, like the right weapons are part of my religion, so that's what I was called to.
So we both agree that was a great line that you would have missed if you missed this episode.
I mean, my life could have continued, and I'll probably still be fulfilled. But yeah, it was a good line.
Yes, I agree there. Again, it's a 6 on a scale at best. So let's see. We talked about that one. So let's talk about the Mudhorn. Okay.
Rhino.
Yes, the woolly rhino. So he gets challenged to get the egg from the Jawas. So the Jawas challenge him to get this egg from a Mudhorn. So and then they will give him all of his stuff back, supposedly.
I did not understand any of this. I mean, go ahead, sorry.
Well, one of my big problems with this fight scene was the soundtrack. It sounded really cool, but I feel like the soundtrack did a disservice to the fight scene because it was a little hard to tell some of the sound from the sound effects, some of the music from the sound effects, and I did not like that. At first, I thought the woolly rhino was kind of making that machine guttural noise,
right.
And it was not. That was not the case. Instead, that was just part of the soundtrack, which again sounded cool, but I think it was just poor placement for the soundtrack. So that's one criticism I have there.
So the egg is the rhino's egg.
Yes.
But that's not a mammal.
Some mammals can lay giant hairy eggs in the Star Wars universe.
Okay. I'm not hating. I'm just asking. What's the value of the egg? That's what I don't understand.
It's got to taste good.
I mean,
either that. I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm bad at interrupting.
No. It's your show. You run the show here, Kyle. I'm just here to be your Batman. I'm not even Robin. I'm like Robin's clothes getter guy.
Please stop lying to the audience. You are an integral part of this conversation.
So for me, the fight scene stuff was it was fun. It was interesting, and we'll talk about kind of the climax of it. But sure, but it's the pay, like all of that, the payoff. I don't understand. I never understood. Like you got his ship. Jawas operate off a currency of buying and selling and stealing and selling and reselling and fixing and selling and they do all this stuff. They gave that up for an egg. Like I mean, and it wasn't even enough for all of them to eat, probably.
Well, either it tastes really good or it has some other significance, maybe something religious or pseudo-religious about eating this egg from this a specific beast. Maybe they tried to steal something from the Mudhorns area and it killed some Jawas and they just want payback.
I
Either
thought.
way, oh sorry, keep going.
No, I'll cut you off now. There I go. I was gonna say that I thought the twist for me would have been like you say something like that, but also I would have appreciated the whole thing a little bit more if they would have been like, Mando's like, "Here's the egg," and they're like, "Oh wow, you got it," and he's like, "Yeah, like what's the relevance?" And they're like, "Nothing. We just didn't think you could do it." Like that.
Yeah,
That needed a more Jawa character. Like, we don't need your crap, but you want it back. And like I thought
we
something.
just thought you were gonna die.
Yeah, we didn't. We never thought you would do it. So okay.
That would have been good if they were like, okay, and they just like left it. He's like, what? He's just like, we thought it was gonna kill you. Here's your stuff back.
Yeah. I mean, they could have eaten it. They could have done all that stuff, but like, that's what I'm saying. The payoff wasn't there because they just ate it, and it's like you just wanted to eat the egg. Like
They are disgusting creatures, though. The way they eat that egg, just
oh, good. Yes, very yes. Well,
gross.
how does everyone say? Very uncivilized, or however you
Very
say
uncivilized. Yes,
it. Very uncivilized.
very uncivilized. And I feel bad for the Mudhorn. It died.
It lost its life and its egg.
Yeah, so sad. And
Either
then the Mudhorn just goes to waste. Like,
uh, yes, at least with the sand people, they're like eating everything.
yeah. So I feel bad for the Mudhorn.
I didn't mean to go too far, but you mentioned the fight scene, so I'm curious. The fight scene was, I thought, okay. He gets his stuff, the Beskar light bent up. He's going to die. He's going to lose. Yoda saves him. Grogu saves him. Whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
The shank in the side of the neck was the other thing that didn't pay off for me. So there's two things that failed.
I know, right? Because he presumably shot it in the face, probably in the eye, to start with, and that didn't kill it. But a 4-inch blade in the side of the neck did it in.
Yeah, and so those are the things that like don't pay off. Like the Grogu stopping it mid, lifting it, like that's all cool. And it's like, okay, you get to learn that Grogu's got superpowers.
So that's the big focus of this episode, right? The big reveal for this episode is that Grogu can use the Force. He picks up the woolly rhino, he turns it, he drops it because he ran out of stamina, not because he wanted to drop it right there after doing nothing to it. But yeah, that was the big reveal for this episode, and the most important reason to watch this episode. Right? Can we agree on that? That's the thing that they wanted you to know from this episode that expanded the universe.
Yeah. So question one, the question at the end of episode one, we go back and listen to our podcast. We had some questions about, what does this mean here? What does this mean there? A lot of that's derived from what we know later on. If you're just watching it chronologically, like you've watched episode 1, you've watched episode 2. At the end of episode 1, you're like, that looks like Yoda. Okay, is this a Yoda? Is this Yoda's child? You don't know. And then they answer. And this one thing the show is good about is answering the questions that the audience has that need to be answered. Not all of them, but some of them, it answers it. There it is. Boom. Okay, he has the Force. And there is something else I picked up. I want to go back to real quick. Early in the episode, they do a lot of cameras where it's Grogu, and then it's Mandalorian. It's Grogu, like he's watching back and forth, back and forth. Did you catch that? And any special relevance that you ascribe to that?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Sorry.
Then never mind. But
you can tell me about it.
No, I didn't know. I just there was just several shots where it was just Grogu, and then it's Mando. It's Grogu, it's Mando, and so they were tapping into the bond maybe a little bit earlier than I realized in season 2. So, what that's worth.
Yeah. No, I think I think you're right. I think they were building that up. So he gets the egg. He gets back to the Jawas, and the Jawas cut into the egg and start eating it. I would not have given them the egg until they gave me all my stuff back and like put it onto my ship, if not repaired it for me. Like, you need a full. I want a full refund. I want it to be completely put back to normal.
I need it all back.
And did he get his guns back? Because they took all the weapons. Like, did they take his guns? I would think that he would demand them all back, but I think that'd be the hardest part to get back, would be all those guns.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, it did not seem like enough stuff on that sled.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like enough stuff.
No.
But we did get a nice 80s style repair montage, right?
Yeah.
I say 80s style. There weren't vertical bars of scenes moving across. That would have been great. But we did get a nice repair montage.
Oh, we also
And
got real quick, sorry. The other thing that I stuck out was on top of montages was when he's fighting the Jawas early on. It felt like a callback to Indiana Jones when he's on the side.
it very much felt like a callback to Indiana Jones. I 100% agree, and I should have said that because I wrote that down. But I 100% agree.
Sorry.
Thank you for saying the things I'm thinking.
We've got ESPN.
There's that. Is that a sports thing? I'm just joking. I'm just joking. It's all good. My grandma always used to tell me she had ESP, and she tried to guess my birthday once, and she got really close. So I believe her.
It's just you probably never seen it. There's a commercial where there's some cheerleader. It's an ESPN commercial, and she goes, "He's the sports. I guess it's ESPN anchor or something." He says something, and she goes, "You must have ESPN." But the cheerleader thought ESP was ESPN.
Yes,
so.
That makes sense. No, I didn't see that one. I'm sorry.
And you're a big
but
sport,
it was all good.
It's stunning.
I do have an incredible lack of knowledge of sports. I think my camera is syncing again. That's a sign. Okay. I'll just hunker down like this.
That's good. So I'm curious, the payoffs, were the payoffs good for you? Did you like the payoff for the egg? Did you like the payoff for killing the rhino, the woolly mammoth, whatever it was?
No.
Okay.
I didn't like that. It was cool to see Grogu do his thing. Baby Yoda used the Force. I saw, okay, well, that's the purpose. This whole episode felt very short.
It was.
I feel sad when I see animals die. Like if I watch a horror movie, they usually progress to where an animal dies, and then like a person gets beat up, and then an animal dies, and then a person dies. I always feel worse for the animal dying than the person dying. I'm like, oh, they killed his dog, and it's like Johnny Depp's a murderer, but no, I care about the dog.
Yeah, it's weird how that is, right? It's weird.
Yeah.
Kill the dog in the movie, you can't be redeemed, but you can kill your dad and you come back and be the hero.
Mm-hmm. And apparently for Ben Solo, you can kill Grogu and you're fine.
Wow, that's aggressive. Aggressive.
So we'll see what happens there. I got a feeling they're gonna have to write him back in.
If he kills Grogu, I need to go look. I've heard a lot of people say that Luke and Ben are together right now. I don't think that's right. They could be.
No. He's not even born. He wasn't born until 5 years after the Battle of Endor. That's what is that? 11 ABY. Yeah, this is 9 ABY. So he's not even born yet.
Yeah, because I saw one very popular Star Wars channel, which I like watching, and they're like, Luke and Kylo are going to the galaxy, and they're looking. I'm like, no, they're not. No, I know that's true. I know that's not true. Luke, Kylo might be alive, but that's not true because I know when that happens, and that's about 10 years before Episode 7.
Yeah, so that's way too far. Let's say we're at least 2 years out from Kylo being born, because I believe he was born in 11 ABY. I could be wrong on that, but right now we're in 9 ABY. He's definitely not traversing the galaxy with Uncle Luke looking for recruits.
Yeah, and Uncle Luke, I mean, let's be honest, all he's got is Grogu in his academy right now.
Yeah, Grogu and Leia.
You think she is trained?
I think that she's training. Because we saw the flashback in the sequel series where she's training, and so she's doing some training.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's there. I don't think that he's got a large roster though.
Right. Well, he shouldn't be able to have one.
No, he shouldn't. Unless
Mace Windu's alive.
We've talked about this. I don't think we're going to get it.
No, I don't either. I mean, I'm as much as I probably said I wanted it to happen, I didn't want it to happen because of what it would have done to the continuity of the story. But I will say this, Kyle. In my opinion, this episode is so remarkable. We'd rather talk about other stuff than this episode.
Oh yeah, no, that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign for this episode.
So, did you think this episode, going back and watching it, Was it as bad as you thought it was the first time? Is it better, worse? Like, what's your second reaction? Because, like I said, for me, I fell asleep. I was bored, fell asleep. So it's better because I didn't fall asleep, but it's still not anything special.
Yeah.
What's
No,
your
this was the third time I've seen this episode, and this was the worst. The
okay,
worst watching of it.
why is that? You think?
I think because I've talked to you a lot since the first time I saw it, and I've gotten more
Sorry,
critical of
I'm
certain
sorry.
aspects of the show.
I'm sorry. I've ruined your Star Wars experience. Don't let me do that. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want
It's
to be
not that you've just you got me thinking about some different things. No, I enjoy it for the ride, um,
that.
and I know what's coming up, and so I do want to get to what's coming up. I think that there were just a couple holes in this episode that I just didn't recognize the first time, and it's not bad. Like I said, it's not bad. It's a five or better,
Mhm.
but it's not great. And aside from a couple one-liners and the big reveal with Grogu, it is not necessary as an episode to see for progressing the Mandalorian storyline.
Mhm.
But that's also a lot of what I want in
Mhm.
a Star Wars TV show versus a movie is I want some of the minutia. I want some of the stuff that they wouldn't get to in a movie. Some of the quote unquote boring stuff. I do want to see that because it also helps build the character of who Din is and who the Mandalorian is, right? So when he's getting attacked by the Mudhorn, he's
Mhm.
trying everything. He's shooting it with a blaster, he's using his fire, he's punching it, he's doing everything. And then it gets up to charge him one last time, and he's like, "Well, I got this knife." And he pulls out his knife and he just sits there with it. Like he's ready to die for his job
Mhm.
and to get all his stuff back for the ship. And he's the kind of guy who's just going to go down fighting with whatever he's got left. And so
Okay.
we do get that out of it. And so I think that this is a good character building episode.
I'm glad you brought that up because one thing I thought of was there's two things. One, we talked about this last episode from the pilot, kind of building on the pilot. It's a dangerous world. There's just dangerous things. It's a dangerous world. Death happens at random. So the animal getting killed, the rhino and the egg, that's part of the world that we live in. It's just senseless death, random death, good, bad. You don't even know who's right and wrong. It just happens. So I'm kind of okay. I'm like you, like I don't want to rhino, but that is kind of world they're creating. And to your point, you do learn that he is dedicated. When he says he's going to do something, that's probably why him and the Ugnaught get along. Is because when the Ugnaught says he's going to do something, the Ugnaught's going to do it. Like there ain't no I've spoken, we're about to go. When he says something like that, the Mandalorian, he's going to go as well. So I appreciate that. It's the payoffs. That's kind of the problem for me. Is the payoffs aren't there. So when he brings the egg back, it's like, okay, well, they just got an egg, and like, oh, well, like, really? Like, why do they want you to get the egg? Like, just does that make sense? So if at the end the egg would have been like you said, some religious icon that they were like worshiping the egg, and you're like, oh, well, that's weird, but that makes sense. Or if it had
Mm-hmm.
been like I was saying, like, oh wow, we sent him on some journey, huh? Oh, man, and he's almost hacked off at them because they didn't really want the egg. They just thought he was gonna go die. Like, but there's nothing. It's just we crack it up and we eat it. It's like, well, okay, so I don't understand. What those are the kind of payoffs that it doesn't provide, and so it doesn't have to be. I know I've kind of pounded this whole progression of the storyline. It doesn't have to be that it's progressing the storyline per se, but the payoffs in the episode aren't there, and that's the problem. So, what was the purpose of the egg to the Jawas? And if it's nothing, that's fine. It's just you could have written this. You could have added a minute of screen time and fixed that. And the fourth
Yeah,
neck doesn't make sense either. So like those that's what I'm saying.
yeah. The knife in the neck doesn't make sense. The part of the payoffs in the episode doesn't matter as much to me. Like I'm okay because I know it's a series. I was okay with me finding out more next episode or a couple episodes down the road. So
Mhm.
I'm not necessarily looking for an immediate payoff and everything. I'm in this for the long haul. And I think that is one thing that going into this series, I was ready for it to be a long haul.
Mhm.
I was hoping for something that would take years to tell a single story.
I'm trying to think of another show that you haven't watched House of Cards, have you?
No.
I'm trying to think of another show that we've watched that I know we both have watched that I can compare it to. Um, because House of Cards, the later seasons get kind of wonky. But early on, you don't really know. The very first episode, I think they make it clear what he wants to do. I think that works, and then from there, you kind of know that's what he's doing, which is very much what we have here, which is he's going to take Grogu back to get the check. I mean, that's the impression that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not that the episode, you just don't know, like, this episode was it doesn't mean that he has to go take him back and get his check in episode 2. That's not all what I'm arguing for. I'm just saying, like, it's like, okay, he gets the stuff stolen by Jawas. Okay, that's a distraction. He's got to fight through it. But then the Jawas don't even want the egg. Like, they just want to eat the egg. They're hungry. Like that. Like, that's more of what the show lacks, which is he had to face adversity. He had to overcome it. You learn a lot of stuff. But then at the end of the episode, even the Jawas don't really care about the egg. So it's hard for me to care about what's happening because the Jawas are just hungry. Like that. Like, that's the poor payoff.
Well, when they come out with the novelization of the TV series of The Mandalorian based on characters created by and inspired by George Lucas from his film series, The Mandalorian, based on prior TV. No, I'm just joking. It could go on forever what these things are based on, but maybe we'll get some background there. Maybe they'll explain it. Maybe they'll ruin everything even more. Looking at you, episode 9.
It's not the end of the world. I'm just trying to think of a show that we've seen that's in common that I would say, like the Clone Wars. I was watching. Okay, so I watched. I'm watching the Clone Wars in chronological order now. Okay?
Good. That's the only right way to watch it for everybody out there listening. There's not a wrong way to watch it except for every way other than that one way.
The first 2 times I watched it the wrong way, so it's just a long out. I didn't even know. I was a Padawan. I was like beneath Grogu. I didn't know.
What you don't know can hurt you.
Well, I can in this case. So the very first episode in chronological order is Bail Organa is trapped on Christophsis, and they're trying to get him off the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and so it's a fine episode. It's an interesting episode, and there's questions about the cloaking and stuff like that you have. And then the next episode. So I'm saying, like, those are all fine. I felt like the episode, does that episode do I have a better understanding of Christophsis and what's going on there? No, not really. Bail Organa is trapped on the planet. There's this trench guy. He's pretty bad to the bone, it sounds like. And Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting. Okay. But there's some stuff in there. It's like, okay, that's interesting. I don't know. But the point is that that episode kind of progresses where the payoffs, they all kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, you're like, I don't know.
And Wolf Yularen.
Yes. And so at the end, you're like, and even at the end of the episode, you're like, okay, well, I don't really know what this has to do with overall Star Wars canon 9-episode arc. Like, I don't know. There is a brief mention at the end where the Emperor likes how Anakin works, so you have that. But beyond that, it's like, okay, but everything else in the episode worked. And this one, there's things in here, they're fine, but those things don't work. Like, that's what I would say. And that's just a personal preference. Yeah.
I agree with you. It could have been better.
We should probably end on a high note. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
I don't have anything else to say about this. We've been talking about episodes that aren't this episode for the last 10 minutes.
Okay, well, then in that case.
No, I'm not saying that we have to stop. I'm just saying, like, this episode, yeah, it did. It seemed short. It seemed light. It wasn't dense, full of references and a whole bunch of content. It was just, I think, a little bit of character building, a little bit of world building, and I'll pretend I don't know what's happening in the next episode. I'm hoping it's just a little lull before all the action. For those listening in, I've left Ryan speechless.
Okay, I love doing shows with you.
I love doing shows with you too, my friend. Well, okay. Well, is there anything else you want to add for this one?
No. No. I do. I said I'll watch it again. I probably will watch it again because as we talk to it, there's some things that I want to go back and kind of re-examine. I do think, like, I am curious about the connection with the frog and the frog eggs, if there's something there, or if that's, just randomness. I think all Star Wars in general, there's a fine line between looking for Easter eggs of this big, expansive, connected universe, and then just there's only so many stories you can tell, and so they're telling the same story, and you're like, oh, and so I'm always torn with like, oh my god, this is here. What's the guy, Sonny in Parks? I don't know the show, but you've seen the
Oh
meme,
yeah, yeah.
like yeah,
All
yeah,
this, yeah,
yeah,
goes a whole beautiful mind on it.
yeah.
Yeah, I I don't know. I try to keep those in mind. Like I see a lot of other. I'm not putting down any other YouTube channels. Not going to use any names. Go watch them. Enjoy them. Like and subscribe to those channels as well as Outpost 23. Okay, subscribe to Outpost 23 first, and then go watch other YouTubers. That's my request for everybody. But a lot of times they'll be like, "Oh, look at all this cool stuff. It must mean X, Y, Z." I'm like, "No, it does. It doesn't have to mean that.
Right.
It could be connected, but maybe not. Just because the only other place we saw Ugnaughts in the movies was Cloud City doesn't mean that this Ugnaught is from Cloud City. Though even in the last episode I mentioned, last time we saw a IG assassin droid in the movies, it was on Cloud City. Last time we saw an Ugnaught was on Cloud City. Maybe he's run into assassin droids before. Maybe. Keyword is maybe. There's no evidence that that's what happened.
Exactly. So right. So there's two things. There's one thing to say, okay, he eats a frog, he eats a frog leg. Huh. I wonder if that's connected. Right. There's another thing to say that Baby Grogu is a homicidal maniac who is going to murder all frogs he sees ever, and he did murder the frog lady was because Mandalorian stopped him. And obviously, there's no Star Wars channel saying that, but you could. That's what you're saying. Like
right.
Drawing these inferences that really there's no proof for them.
Right. They take things to the furthest conclusion instead of the first logical conclusion. I prefer to stop at the first logical conclusion, not the last conclusion, because the last conclusion across a logical line of thought becomes an illogical conclusion.
Except, and hear me out, okay?
Okay.
Here. Except if you were one of those people who thought that Palpatine didn't die in Episode 6.
Okay. So a different person said to me earlier this week regarding some things happening in our world, it's only a conspiracy theory until it becomes a conspiracy fact. And I thought, well, that sounds stupid, but it's also true. So, I've never heard conspiracy fact as a phrase, but okay. So yes, if you believed, so one, you say that there is a whole storyline in Star Wars with Crimson Empire where the Empire does transfer his essence into a clone of himself. And so we did know about that in the expanded universe. I personally, there's some cool stuff. Those actually, Crimson Empire is a lot like this episode of The Mandalorian. There's some really cool stuff in there, but I didn't love it. There's other stories I like better, like Young Jedi, stuff like that. But back to the point, that there were some people that expected that because of that storyline, but they were not the majority. So you're right there. I get it.
I'm just giving you a hard time because I agree with you, but it's like there's some folks like, well, listen, I called Palpatine coming back. It's like, no, like, yeah, I did because you're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like that's why I say maybe, because maybe that's how it goes. That's not how it and that's my big issue. When other people like it has to be this because of that. It's like, no, it might be this because of that, or it might be this because of a different reason, or it might be something else because of that. Like we just don't know until we know.
Okay. Can I ask you one more thing before we get off here?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I don't think we talked about this. I watched 5 and 6 the last week or two. Can't remember what it was now. Within the last month. And it was right before New Year's. So
yeah. Empire and Return of the Jedi for anybody not sure the numbers.
And listening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
For the non-Star Wars fans, we're talking about Star Wars episode 5 and 6. Yes. And in episode 6, when Luke and Vader face off, Luke's about to kill that dude. Can we just call the spade a spade?
Yeah.
Okay. Luke's
But
about
that was
to,
part of his internal struggle. Was he knew that he shouldn't, or he believed he shouldn't kill his dad, but he also really wanted to.
okay. Okay. So then why is it such a stretch for Star Wars fans to think that he would not open up a lightsaber on Kylo Ren for 3 seconds?
Well, because people don't like what's that? William Golding, Lord of the Flies,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
People don't like the idea that children can be bad, like evil, because we all know children are bad. Like you want to hit them, all sorts of things. They're. I'm not advocating hitting children. I'm just saying they will really frustrate you. They know they can be annoying too. They do it on purpose sometimes. But that's only because I've trained my children well to do that. They learn by example, and I'm annoying, and people want to hit me. You can ask my brother or sisters or parents. No, back to the story.
Sorry.
So, so I think people don't want to. One, they don't want to see their heroes fall. Right? They don't want to see Luke go to kill a teenage boy,
Mhm.
and they don't want to think that a teenager could be that they don't like the idea of predetermined paths and fate and everything. Um, one someone might build a whole franchise off of the idea of whether or not fate is predetermined or not using robots and synthetic intelligence and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So I think that people didn't like that. They didn't like the idea of the fate, and also I think they didn't like that it was Luke that turned Kylo evil, basically. That they wanted it to be something else. So I don't think it was so much about.
Right? That's the
I'm
whole
sorry.
point. Kylo was evil, and Luke realized it, and he lit up.
Right, right. But see, that's the thing. That's the whole Lord of the Flies thing. People don't want to think that a kid could be like that.
Have they seen 1 through 3?
But see, okay, but Anakin wasn't evil. He
He murdered
was
the Sand People.
he was scared and he was controlling. And yes, he was a sociopath, but he did it for a good reason. And this is why they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? So
Yeah. I just watched it,
yeah.
and I hadn't watched 5 and 6 in a while, and I was just, I like 7, 8, and 9. I go back and forth on. I don't hate it as probably some of the folks do, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. One of the things that, and this kind of goes back to the connections and thinking through Star Wars. One of the things that I've kind of learned is if you watch enough Star Wars, you know, you can. I've seen people, and this is the problem I have with the. So I am not saying that you should like a movie or not. I'm not trying to persuade anyone to like a movie. I'm just simply saying it's one thing to say this doesn't fit in the universe because of this, this, and this. That's a great argument. We can have those arguments.
Hmm.
Like for instance,
Right.
C3PO would not do this because his programming here clearly states he wouldn't. Okay, well that's a rule that Star Wars makes, and we can work around that. Okay, we can work around that. I'm fine there. But with the Luke Skywalker thing, it's he force chokes a dude in Starter Six, and then he bout kills his own dad. So to say that when he gets that same premonition, 30 years, 40 years, 20 years, whatever is later, and he realizes that Kylo could be the next coming of the greatest thing ever to destroy all humanity, and he's basically right. And he opens up the lightsaber and then realizes how stupid that is. And before he can close it down, Kylo realizes, like, to me, that's not a stretch. And then
No, not at all.
to feel the shame of not only did he do that, then Kylo goes and murders everyone, and he feels responsible for it. And so, and his options at that point were to go murder Kylo, as they murder, duel him to the death, kill Kylo,
Hmm.
or to start over. Or I mean, he doesn't have a lot of options, and so there's a lot of things you could say. It's a made up universe. They could have wrote the story completely differently. I'm just saying that that story is not outside of what we see from Luke Skywalker in 5 and 6. We don't have anything really of substance between 6 and 8. So
Not
that
yet, but we're getting it.
we're getting it. Hey,
And see, but I think that's speaking of what we're getting now. I think that's the big disappointment with people when they saw Luke Skywalker again. They wanted the Luke Skywalker that we got in the season finale of Mandalorian season 2.
hmm
I think that was the biggest thing, and that people were just frustrated that they didn't get to see that Luke Skywalker on screen, and instead we're stuck with old man Luke Skywalker, who's a disappointment.
see, I didn't want Luke to come back. That was my whole thing. I didn't want any of them to come back.
Well, that's just because you hate the world. I don't know.
No,
No.
I didn't. I thought exactly what would happen, which is people get mad with how they handle the characters. Like,
Oh
I
yeah, people are going to get mad, of course, but I still want to see them.
well, okay. Let me rephrase. I thought they were gonna, if they brought back Luke, was gonna be so powerful that it's gonna be like, you to if Luke's super powerful, you're gonna spend large chunks of the movie. How did he not realize this dark force rose up and he didn't stop it?
That's why he should have been the bad guy, but that's a whole nother
Right.
thing.
Okay, that would have okay. If they're mad about him cutting off from the force, think what they would have done if he was the bad guy.
Right, but they should have showed him progressing like Anakin did in 1, 2, and 3, where he became the bad guy for what he saw from an amoral point of view as a good reason. And so he was ridding the universe of all this evil, and he ends up becoming the bully. That's what I wanted. And I want him to not be irredeemable. I want him to turn before reaching that precipice.
I would have been fine with something like that. I didn't find a lot of stuff. Because what I did not want was Grandmaster Luke, who is like Yoda level powerful. Oh, of course, Luke in episode 6 is super powerful. I'm not saying he's not, but like 30 years of just like, hitting the juice and just he's swole, he's ready to go. Like, I didn't want that Luke because that Luke was fun.
But what about Yoda in episode 3? I mean, in episode 2, he should have seen Palpatine coming. And there's a whole lot of in-universe reasons why he didn't. But I'm saying that they can create in-universe reasons why the best good guy can't sense the best bad guy.
Okay, I agree that they could have done that, and they on some level they brought back Palpatine, and Leia didn't know it, but she did know it, and
That was stupid. I'm sorry. When she was like, I knew it the whole time. I'm like, really? Why didn't you say anything?
Why don't you just pipe up?
Yeah. You didn't tell any of these people that you're in charge of. You're basically in charge of everything, and you did nothing about this. Why?
Oh, God.
But they don't ask for my opinion.
They don't.
For good reason.
For bad reasons. Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that I've been meaning to ask you about it because just watching episode 6, him wailing on Vader's on the ground is like, okay, he's got a little bit of an anger problem. Just call this spade here, like his father before him, a little bit of an anger problem. Could that manifest itself in the future? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think that most people, like you said, they wanted the Luke Skywalker projection of where he was at and what was going to be happening. They didn't get that, and they're mad about that. That's fine. I am 100% fine with people saying that. The problem I have is saying that what and I've heard people argue this. What Luke did, he never would have done, and that's not the canon we have. The canon we have is he actually would do something like this.
Yeah, and I wouldn't argue that he would never do that. I would argue that I didn't want him to do that.
That's fine. Like, I am fine with someone disappointed in the creative choices because I'm disappointed in the creative choices episode 2 of season 1. Tied back in.
Wait, the episode that we're talking about in this podcast?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in those creative choices, so I'm fine with that. But there's nothing about this episode that's outside of the canon of the Mandalorian. Like, there's nothing in here that I go, this is not in the character of the show. Like, everything actually fits. It's just the egg thing's stupid at the end, in my opinion. So, so that would be the distinction. So if you want to say that you don't like how they took Luke Skywalker, that's cool. But I've literally heard big Star Wars channels, he would never do that. It's like, have you watched the movies? Have you watched?
He would do lots of things. They need to read more of the expanded universe. He does some bad stuff.
Just watch the movie, episode 6. He's got Vader down, just whoa, just pounding on the dude. It's like,
that's the second time. He would have killed him in episode 5 before finding out he was his father if he could have.
Thank you.
But he wasn't ready. Yeah. He wanted to go kill all the stormtroopers in episode 4. Luke likes killing people.
He's got an anger problem.
He does. It runs in the Skywalker family, as we've seen in Kylo Ren. Best part of the new holiday special is the Kylo Ren anger problem references for the Lego Star Wars special.
Oh, that's it. I was like, wow, George really thought that through.
No. The Lego Star Wars Holiday Special.
Okay. I know kind of up against the clock here, so we gotta wrap it up. Question.
Okay.
No. Just one more question.
Okay. Yes.
I've heard there's rumblings that Lucas might come back and direct us a season 3 episode of The Mandalorian. Would you like to do that?
I would like to see that. Ever since episode 7 came out, I've said George Lucas is coming back. So I said I'm sorry.
If you said enough, eventually he.
Right, yeah, it's kind of like Nostradamus. If you make it generic enough, like he came back for Solo, right? He was on set for a day. He made a couple pointers. George Lucas is back. No, I just thought with them kicking this thing back up, and when I saw 7, and I enjoyed 7, but I said this isn't going to be the same Star Wars after I saw 7. And there's going to be people that are ticked off about that. And they're going to want to try to make those people happy. And a quick way to make those people happy would be to give George Lucas a Star Wars side project. And those people could just love those things. But so I'd like to see it because I part of why I want to see is I want to see how people review it. I want to see if people go, oh, this is the George Lucas of the original trilogy, or if they go, oh, this is the George Lucas of the prequel trilogy, or if they go, oh, this is a new George Lucas and it's terrible, or if they say, oh, this is a new George Lucas and it's wonderful. We'll see.
Yeah, I would. Yes, 100%. You nailed it. I love the prequels. Actually, I'm probably. I don't like the first half of episode 1. I like 2, a lot of 2, but not all 2. There's some bad stuff too, more stuff. I love 3. I like watching the prequels. I think they're good. I
don't hate them. I do not hate them. Never did. Saw episode 1 6 times in theaters. Right.
I also realized that George Lucas probably should have told him what they wanted and then left everything else to someone else. Like, George, what is it we're doing here? Okay, yeah, okay. No, we'll call you if we need you. We'll call you if we need you.
Yeah. But his personality, he couldn't do that. That's part of why he left Star Wars, because he said he's a micromanager. He admitted it. He said he's a micromanager, and he knew that if he did more Star Wars stuff, he wouldn't spend time with his family because he'd just be too consumed by it. So he had to cut himself off completely. Yep. But his family's grown now, and I think that he's ready to come back and do something else.
Yeah, I would just suggest maybe directing, but not writing.
Yeah. Though, how funny would it be if Mando on one episode was just like, I hate sand, it gets everywhere. I just think it'd be funny.
That would be hilarious. I concur. There will be a sand joke in there at some point. You could bet on it.
I would expect it to come from Cara Dune. She's like getting some sand out of her boots. She's like, I hate sand. And then Mando could just be like, yeah, it gets everywhere.
Yeah, I like it. So, okay, I'm sorry we spent 30 minutes on non-Mando podcast about.
It's all good. It's all good. This is what the people are paying all the big bucks for,
right?
With their free downloads from Stitcher. So, thank you everyone for tuning in, for watching live, for watching the replays on Outpost 23, for checking out outpost23.net for more from Ryan Ray, for subscribing to the audio podcast, or checking out thetalkinggeek.com for more from me. Thank you everyone. Ryan, anything you want to add?
Oh, I'm muted.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay, that sounds good. All right then. May the force be with you.
Always.